909 people, one agricultural settlement in the Guyanese jungle, one vat of flavor aid and cyanide, November 18, 1978. 46 minutes from the first sip to the last child. The largest mass murder in modern American history. Investigators have a name for the pattern. They call it a high control group, a closed community in which one person controls all incoming information, all sexual access, all financial resources, and all interpretations of reality. The people inside almost never see it. The people outside almost always do. 7 archetypes, 7 cult leaders, 7 different shapes of the same machine. This is every killer cult, explained in 16 minutes.
Archetype 1, the Doomsday Prophet. A self-styled minister who teaches his followers that the existing world is corrupt beyond repair, that he alone can lead them to a new utopia, and that any sign of doubt is proof of demonic possession. Indianapolis, 1956. James Warren Jones, a 25-year-old former Methodist student preacher, founds the People's Temple, a multiracial socialist church with faith-healing services and a free meals program. By 1977, the People's Temple has 9,000 members, owns a fleet of buses, employs the children of California state senators, and operates from a Geary Boulevard sanctuary in San Francisco. Jones controls everything: sexual access, personal finances, internal discipline by public beating. When defectors begin speaking to the press, Jones relocates 1,000 of his most loyal followers to a remote agricultural settlement he has built in the Guyanese jungle, Jonestown. November 14, 1978. Congressman Leo Ryan of California flies in with a delegation of relatives and reporters. After 3 days of inspections, 15 Jonestown residents try to leave with the congressman. November 18th. At the Port Kaituma airstrip, Jones's gunmen open fire as Ryan boards his plane. The congressman is killed. 4 others die with him. Back at the pavilion, Jones tells his 909 remaining followers that the world will now hunt them down. He orders the vats opened. The cyanide is poured into flavor aid. The children are dosed first with syringes. 46 minutes later, every adult is dead. Jones is found beside the pulpit with a single bullet wound to the temple. The Doomsday Prophet archetype always tells his followers that the outside world is closing in. The closing in is the point.
Archetype 2, the Apocalypse Cult. A leader who teaches his followers that the end of the world is imminent, that the United States government is the literal Babylon foretold in Scripture, and that the only way to survive Armageddon is to stockpile weapons inside a fortified compound and prepare to die fighting. Waco, Texas, 1987. Vernon Howell, a 30-year-old high school dropout and self-taught biblical scholar, takes over the Branch Davidian sect from inside the Mount Carmel compound east of Waco. He renames himself David Koresh, David for the King of Israel, Koresh the Hebrew name for Cyrus the Great. He teaches his followers that he alone can open the 7 seals of the Book of Revelation. He marries multiple wives, including 2 girls aged 12 and 14, and fathers more than a dozen children inside the compound. He stockpiles 300 firearms, 50 caliber rifles, and grenade components. February 28, 1993. 76 Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms agents arrive to serve a search warrant. They are met with rifle fire from inside the compound. 4 agents and 6 Davidians die in the opening exchange. The standoff lasts 51 days. April 19, 1993. The FBI begins a tear gas insertion. Within hours, the compound is burning. 76 Branch Davidians die in the fire, 25 of them children. Koresh dies inside of a single gunshot wound to the forehead. The Apocalypse archetype is the only cult pattern in which the believers fight back. The fight is what the leader has been waiting for.
Archetype 3, the Race War Inciter. A career criminal who, in the late 1960s, fuses the rhetoric of the Black Power movement, the imagery of Beatles lyrics, and the doctrine of biblical revelation into a personal apocalyptic philosophy he calls helter-skelter, and who recruits a commune of mostly young, mostly female runaways to murder strangers on his behalf in order to start the race war he has predicted. Los Angeles, 1968. Charles Mills Manson, age 33, has spent more than half his life in juvenile detention and federal prison. Released in 1967, he drifts to Haight-Ashbury, where he begins gathering young women into what he calls the family. By summer 1969, the family occupies the abandoned Spawn movie ranch outside Los Angeles. Manson preaches that a coming race war between black and white Americans will leave him as the surviving prophet. To accelerate it, he orders his followers to murder rich white people in a way that will be blamed on black militants. August 9, 1969. 4 of Manson's followers, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian, invade the Cielo Drive home of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8.5 months pregnant. Tate and 4 others are murdered. The next night, the La Bianca residence in Los Feliz. The walls are painted in the victim's blood. Helter-skelter. Death to pigs. Manson himself does not enter either crime scene. He does not have to. The race war archetype is the only cult pattern in which the leader uses his believers as the murder weapon. He is convicted in 1971 of 7 counts of first-degree murder. Archetype 4. The Heaven Seeker. A leader who teaches his followers that human bodies are temporary vehicles to be shed at the right moment so that the soul can move to a higher evolutionary level, typically aboard a spacecraft hidden behind a celestial event. Houston, Texas, 1972. Marshall Herff Applewhite, a 41-year-old former music professor and son of a Presbyterian minister, checks himself into a psychiatric hospital after a religious vision. There, he meets a nurse named Bonnie Lou Nettles. The two leave together. They teach across the American Southwest that they are the 2 witnesses from the Book of Revelation, sent to prepare humanity for transport to what they call the evolutionary level above human. They demand celibacy. They demand the renunciation of all family contact. They demand obedience. Nettles dies of cancer in 1985. Applewhite continues alone. He renames the group Heaven's Gate. By 1996, the group operates a website design business, Higher Source, out of a rented mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California. They live by a single rulebook: identical haircuts, identical clothes, no sex, no alcohol, no private money. March 22nd through March 26th, 1997. As the comet Hale-Bopp passes Earth, Applewhite and 38 followers don identical black tracksuits and Nike Decade sneakers. They eat applesauce laced with phenobarbital. They drink vodka. They seal plastic bags over their heads. They lie down to die in 3 orderly shifts. When sheriff's deputies enter the house on March 26th, the bodies are covered in identical purple shrouds. The Heaven Seeker archetype is the most aesthetically controlled cult pattern in the modern record. Even the dying is choreographed.
Archetype 5. The Bioterror Cult. A leader who recruits top scientific talent, establishes secret laboratories, and weaponizes belief into chemical and biological attacks on civilian populations. Tokyo, Japan, 1984. Chizuo Matsumoto, a half-blind acupuncturist who has renamed himself Shoko Asahara, founds a small yoga and meditation group in a 1-room apartment. By 1990, his group, Aum Shinrikyo, Supreme Truth, has 10,000 members worldwide, owns a publishing house, runs candidates for the Japanese parliament, and operates secret facilities at the foot of Mount Fuji. Asahara teaches that nuclear war is imminent. He teaches that the United States is plotting to destroy Japan. He teaches that only Aum will survive. He recruits graduate students from the University of Tokyo, Kyoto University, and Waseda. Inside Aum's compounds, his scientists manufacture sarin, anthrax, VX, and LSD. They attempt to acquire Russian helicopters and uranium from Australia. June 27, 1994. Aum tests sarin gas in Matsumoto City. 8 die. Hundreds are injured. The Japanese police do not link it to Aum. March 20, 1995. At 8 a.m., 5 Aum disciples board 5 separate trains converging on the Kazumigaseki station, the heart of Japan's government district. Each carries plastic bags of liquid sarin wrapped in newspaper. Each carries a sharpened umbrella tip. At precisely 8:15, they puncture the bags and step off the trains. 13 die. 6,000 are injured. The bioterror archetype is the most operationally sophisticated cult pattern ever documented. Asahara is hanged on July 6, 2018, alongside 6 of his senior disciples.
Archetype 6. The Sex-Trafficking Empire. A leader who builds a respectable corporate front, typically an executive coaching or self-improvement business, and hides a secret inner society within it dedicated to the systematic sexual exploitation of female members. Albany, New York, 1998. Keith Raniere, a former multi-level marketing executive expelled from the Amway program, founds Executive Success Programs, later rebranded NXIVM, a company offering $50,000 leadership training curricula. NXIVM grows for 2 decades, attracting Hollywood actresses, Mexican telecom heirs, and members of the Bronfman family. Inside NXIVM, beginning in 2015, Raniere operates a secret women-only inner society called DOS, Dominus Obsequious Sororium, Master over the Slave Women. To join DOS, a woman must hand over collateral, nude photographs, sworn confessions of fabricated crimes, deeds to property. She is then branded with Raniere's initials using a cauterizing pen on the lower abdomen. She is required to maintain a starvation diet. She is required to be available to Raniere for sex. October 17, 2017. The New York Times publishes the investigation. Raniere flees to Mexico. Bronfman family loyalists hide him at a luxury villa near Puerto Vallarta. March 25, 2018. The FBI and Mexican police raid the villa. Raniere is arrested in his bathrobe. June 19, 2019. In U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York, he is convicted of 7 federal counts, including racketeering, sex trafficking, sexual exploitation of a child, and forced labor conspiracy. He is sentenced to 120 years in prison. The trafficking archetype is the most administratively organized cult pattern ever prosecuted. Raniere kept ledgers.
Archetype 7. Murder-by-Proxy. A leader who orchestrates the staged mass deaths of his own followers as a final act of theatrical transcendence. The deaths are designed to read, to investigators and surviving members, as a glorious mass transit to another world. Switzerland and Quebec. October 4, 1994. Luc Jouret, a Belgian-born homeopathic physician and former Zairian military paratrooper, has co-founded the Order of the Solar Temple, a Neo-Templar secret society with chapters in Switzerland, France, and Quebec. The teaching is that members will be transported at the moment of physical death to a planet orbiting the star Sirius. Jouret and his partner Joseph Di Mambro spend years cultivating an inner circle of wealthy European industrialists, Quebecois socialites, and disillusioned ex-Catholics. October 4th and 5th, 1994. In 2 coordinated events, at a chalet in Sherry, Switzerland, and a second chalet in Salvan, Switzerland, 53 members of the order, including Jouret and Di Mambro, are murdered or murdered-suicided by gunshot, suffocation, drugging, or fire. Plastic explosive timers are wired into the buildings. The chalets burn to the foundations. December 16, 1995. 16 more members are found dead in a forest clearing in the Vercors Massif in France, arranged in a star pattern. March 22, 1997. 5 more bodies, including 2 adolescents, are found in a chalet in Saint Casimir, Quebec. 74 dead total. The murder-by-proxy archetype is the only cult pattern designed to leave no surviving leadership behind. Whether each death was suicide or murder remains a forensic question 3 decades later.
7 archetypes: Doomsday Prophet, Apocalypse Cult, Race War Inciter, Heaven Seeker, Bioterror Cult, Trafficking Empire, Murder-by-Proxy. The patterns rhyme. Jones overlapped with Koresh on the Sealed Compound. Manson overlapped with Asahara on Apocalyptic Prophecy. Applewhite overlapped with Jouret on the Staged Transcendent Death. Raniere overlapped with Manson on the Architecture of Female Obedience. The investigators studying high control groups have a saying: cults are not what their members believe, cults are what their leaders need. Every killer cult on this file is the same shape underneath: one person who needs total control over the inner life of another, and a community that has agreed, in advance, to let him have it. The killings come later, when somebody inside finally notices.
These are real cases, real verdicts, real losses. Sources are listed at the end of this video and in the description below. If this casework matters to you, subscribe and turn on notifications. New episodes every week.